Welcome to St. Maria Goretti Parish, located in Elk Grove, California. Today, I will be introducing you to Father Mervin Concepcion. Prior to becoming a priest, he worked in the Philippines ministering to the Muslim communities. Today, not only as pastor here, he also works with the Sacramento Police Department in their clergy information outreach. Welcome, Father. One of the things I'd like to ask you is, it's so very hard to locate a priest, and I know as lay people, when I hear them speaking, they sometimes think that all you do is offer Mass. But I'd like to know what you do day to day, your daily activities, how they begin and how they end.
Well, the day sometimes really can get really very chaotic sometimes. Sometimes just, a peaceful day, and then all of a sudden something comes up. So just like, I'll be in the office, just trying to make myself available. And also sometimes I'm trying to get ready myself, for my homily on Sunday, on weekend. And then all of a sudden somebody comes up to me, and then they will just say hi, and then, and then we have some chit chat. And then sometimes somebody comes in crying and then wanted some guidance. There's something wrong, with their marriage relationship, and then they just needed somebody to listen to them.
The pastoral needs.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
What about activities that you're involved in, outside activities, if that's possible?
Yeah, on Wednesday, I would sometimes visit also the kids from our CFF, and then normally on the third Friday of the month, I would go with Sacramento Police Department, cops and clergy. So we go around and visit troubled kids, troubled teens, and then we go and talk to them, and then I get call also for a sick call from the hospital, or somebody needed to receive communion. So I would go and visit them, or else sometimes just a parishioner just called me, just like today I have an arrangement with a parishioner. We're going out for a meal, and because that's way also to build up relationship, and to get to know one another. Because sometimes if I just go and just do the sacrament, there's no way a chance really that the parishioner and their pastor can go down to the level where they can get to know each other.
Yes.
So that's why I'm doing normally on my normal days.
So it's not an 8 to 5 job.
Not really,
Yeah.
not really. Yeah, yeah. But it always comes up. There's always something comes up, that out of the blue, things come up, or just sometimes just normal visit. But the thing is that I try to be here most of the time to make myself available if somebody needed me. Jan, I'll be there in a minute. We're almost over. Okay, thank you for your patience.
Okay, Father Mervin, one of the things that a lot of people would like to know is when a person finds peace and joy and happiness, how do they retain that, particularly since you left the worldly treasures, the luxuries? How do you keep that peace and joy? What made you leave the outside world to become a priest?
I didn't really leave the outside world. I'm still living the world, but I just have Jesus Christ walk with me always. And that makes me really more grounded and human, but at the same time divine, because I have God with me always, in my life, whatever I do. And I get inspiration from that. And I get inspiration also from the people that I met, from experiences that I experienced, from people and me, good and bad experience. And I always find God there in those experiences. And that's how I find peace also from that experiences.
So you live in the world, but you're not living of the world.
I'm not living out the world. I'm in the world, and I'm with God, living in the world. Just like Jesus when The Word of God, became flesh with us. He was living with us in our midst, just like any other human being, with our ups and downs, with our struggles in life. He did experience that too, and I experienced that too. And every day is a different, is a different experience, and every day is a different also revelation of God in in my life and in the life of other people.
We think we are materialistic people, especially now. So it's hard for people to think, oh, they're giving up so much. But what are you doing? You're loving God. He's with you, and you show that. And so it's a gift, and it's a great grace.
Yeah, this gift, and that's really the problem right nowadays about that we get into materialism, secularism, because every one of us, have been created in the image and likeness of God. We also have the power of God. We also have the talents of God. But the thing is that sometimes it happened already in the Bible. But the thing is that sometimes if we have this, this power and talent, sometimes we feel that we're also like God. That's where the problem now, comes in.
Okay.
Because when we think that we're over our master, we're just a student, but we think that we're over our master. That where the problem comes in. It happens also in the Tower of Babel. When people think that they can reach God, and then something comes happen, and they cannot understand each other. They weren't able to reach God. So the same thing with us. We have this wonderful word. We have the talents and the power of God, and then we use them for the good of everyone. But I think sometimes there is a temptation there that we want to be also like God, and that's where the problem comes in. And then in the end, we fail because we think we're also God.
That's it.
Nobody can challenge and compete with God, because God is God.
Yes.
And He is the creator, and we're just a creature.
And just to remember that, it just says that.
Yeah.
St. Thomas once said, as it goes, we must also follow the Lord and die with Him. Something similar to that. When you were working in the Muslim community, you were proclaiming the gospel. How difficult was that for you?
It wasn't really that difficult because I just stayed as human as I can, just like anyone else. But I was a seminarian, a Catholic seminarian, studying to become a priest. And we were there, to do God's work. We were there to reach out to them, because there are some Muslims, brothers and sisters, who are in need of clothing, shelter, food. And then with the Catholics, the Christians wanted to provide that. And then, of course, before we provide that, we have to also to respect them, because we cannot just go there and give them that. If they don't need it, if they don't like it, there's no use of us to be there. But we have also to respect them, or at least we know what do they need, their basic needs. So we also talk to the to their leaders, the imams, on how we can work together. And then, but there is a group of people there, of religious, nuns, sisters, and priests, and lay leaders, talking to them. I was just talking to, the community, because, and then I'm just kind of in the sideline, talking to them why we are here and what we are doing there.
So were you able to discuss Catholicism with them at all, or just basically the roots, and that's why you were doing what you were doing?
I didn't preach to them about Catholicism or about, the Bible or about Jesus, but we are here that we can work together. And we know that I'm doing the work of Jesus, because that's what Jesus did. That's what He does. So, but without mentioning, without talking about this, but we are doing it.
In one of the papal letters to priests, it was asked that you be grateful to our Lord for your calling, to your parents, to your families. How do you show that? Is that your opinion, that were you grateful to who helped you, inspired you shaped you to desire to become a priest?
Well, I'm sure that there was a calling, during my time, but of course I didn't respond to that, from my, only from my own perspective. But I guess I got that also from inspiration, I guess, from my family, because my family, my mother especially, she taught me how that's the first prayer that that I've learned, by memorized by heart, the prayer to the guardian angel. And then just assurance, even now, I'm already 50 years old, but every time I go out from the rectory, I still say my guardian, the
Angel
prayer
prayer.
to my guardian angel, because I know that I can be protected by and guided by my guardian angel. And besides, I've learned that prayer from my mother, so it helps the most. Yeah, because it reminds me of my relationship with my mother. So those are the kind of family experience, family values and principles and spirituality that I've learned from my parents. That adds more, to my decision to become a priest.
So when you decided to become a priest, because you said you heard it and you kind of ignored it a little bit, and you decided to become a priest and you let your family know, what was their reaction?
Well, at first, because even though I was already like 25, 26 years old, my father, because I wanted, to ask their blessing also, so that at least things would go smoothly. But my father has an objection because, he wanted me to have a family, and he wanted to have a junior, from me,
Grandson.
yeah, a grandson from me. But I got sidetracked because then I got this calling to become a priest. And besides, and I love to serve the church because the church has been kind of a comfort for me. Because when I was growing up, I had a polio when I was 2, 3 years old, and then when I went to school, and then kids would tease me, they would be mean to me, even older people, because of my they make fun of me because of my handicap. And then one day somebody invited me to become an altar server. We call it Knights of the Altar in the Philippines. So I joined, and I have this fancy uniform, and then I did my training, and then also I did serve, during the mass, and I enjoyed doing it. And then and also I felt I was able to find out my self worth, that I'm a kind of a
Okay.
very important person too, because I'm serving the congregation, attending the mass. And also that when we go to the village, and then we tag along with the priest, he will say mass, and then we get invited for a meal, and then normally they would sit us in a VIP table, and I said, oh, this is a nice,
Nice.
yeah. So I said, oh, maybe I'd like to become a priest too, and that's how it started. There was a desire and a dream, at that time, to become a priest, with
Just
some
a little.
inspiration of my priest, and besides. My priest at the time also, he was very active in social service and social outreach and
Yes.
social justice. Yeah, so he likes to help the poor. And then I thought, probably I felt that I also kind of identify myself with the poor, because when kids or even older people would mock at me, would tease me because of my handicap, so I think I can relate with them.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I kind of like his ministry, to help the poor. And then so becoming a priest, I also realized that of course I cannot solve most of the people's problem, but the thing is that if I be able to help them, to just get by one day at a time, that's really a comfort for me, because at least I was able to inspire that person, help him to overcome, his struggles, that one day. And then I don't know what the following day, I'm sure God will or work his wonders, the next day. So that really brings me comfort, because I've been into that situation too before. And somebody came up to me and offered me this, to become a Knights of the Altar or altar servers. And I find myself there, and I find God there. Yeah.
So that helps. Do you also go to your parishioners and ask them to do things to be more involved?
Yeah, and also in our parish, and even with whatever parish I go, I normally encourage also people to help, because I cannot do it by myself. I cannot be God. God is not just only working in me; it works with a lot of people. And so I also encourage people to do the same, to help in their own way. I did my own calling, in my own, different way. And then I also encourage also other parishioners to do it in their own way on how they can help and, spread God's love to other people.
People wonder, how does that happen? Is it just the awareness that you have, that God is with you all the time? Because you'll meet people, I don't know, I've met people where you don't necessarily see their joy. How do people see your joy?
I'm a priest here at St. Margarete, but at the same time, I also help with the Sacramento Police Department for their Cups and Clergy program. And then we help, kids, to not to get involved in, in gang violence or something like that. So at one time there was a call, and we were kind of a briefing. At the time, we really tried to go out and visit somebody. Yes. There was a call that because there was a young girl, 13 years old, been reported missing for several days, and family member found her in I guess in a Taco Bell, and then so they called the police so that she will not run away anymore. Yes. And we went there and then I talked to that kid. So and seeing me with the police, and then and a cop, and then also the priest, and she thinks that at first when she saw the cop, she thinks that he's in trouble, and she's really in trouble because she ran away home. Yes. But after seeing me with my collar on, and then it says clergy in the back, I have a shirt also that says clergy. So she thinks that she's not really in the much trouble. So I talked to her, and then I was able to influence her. I don't know if they're active in the church, but I think from there, they see already, the presence of God in me. Yeah. And me, myself, I was able to see, God's presence in her in order, to help this, this 13-year-old girl not to be in trouble the more. Because if she's out there, running here in the street, she can get into a lot of trouble. Yes. Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah, so that's really an experience of God for me, that be able to help that girl, to save the life of that girl. We priests, we're kind of a bridge, just like in the Old Testament times, the New Testament times, that the priest serves as a bridge, between or a mediator between God and His people. Yeah, it's it's a kind of a symbol there that we be able to feel, and the presence of the invisible God through the priest. The inspiration and then the happiness that I always experience in my life by just helping people is really worth than millions. It's really worth worth than millions than if you're helping people. So it really brings you comfort. And especially if you're helping people, so that's why I encourage the youth, if you have any vocation to the priesthood, because a lot of people need some inspiration. A lot of people in our world nowadays, they're hurting, and they need somebody, they need some person that they can they can feel that they're forgiven and they're loved. So that's why I'm encouraging all the the young people. If you have the vocation to the priesthood, just go for it. Ask your parents or ask your pastor, for some guidance, so that at least you can be guided properly, because it's really worth. Every one of us, belongs to the family, and also, and as you can see nowadays, that the family are suffering. I guess we needed also. I would like also to encourage, parents, to encourage any of your children to go to priesthood, so that at least that priest, that child of yours, can encourage and inspire more families during their times and tough challenges in their life. Everything is priceless. No millions can really can equal to that, because the joy that I feel, and also seeing the people that I kind of help, get by, from their, from their problems. I'm happy to see them happy.